very happy World Environment Day to everyone. Warm greetings on behalf of W4W Foundation, which is a think tank instituted as a citizens collective. We welcome you to another session of Wednesdays for Water. The conversation today is on understanding NBS, that is nature-based solution, and its applications in India. The objective of Wednesdays for Water is to engage in a conversation with water experts, grassroots practitioners, policymakers, and youth to explore the complex intertwined issues associated with water and the possible solutions. It has expanded since then to have more activities like Friday Waters and Monday Munchings with Women for Waters, besides organizing water workshops, water walks and talks, seminars, special courses, and conferences, panels to continue the water conversations in various possible ways. Please visit the website W4W Foundation for more details. My name is Shubhi Kesavani, and I am moderator and the host for the session on behalf of Guruchal. It's a water security focused think and do entity based out of Gurgaon. We've been working for the last 5 years in the space of water conservation, water audit, and nature-based solutions. Today, we are going to be talking about the nature-based solutions and its applications. We know the terminology, yet it's very, very niche. We are still discovering what it means to us. Traditionally, we've followed it in different aspects of life and ecosystem, but it is now that we need feel the need of highlighting it and implementing it as an acknowledged solution to the various climate change and water security concerns that we might be facing and how to avoid it. In today's session on understanding nature-based solution and its applications for India, we have Ankit Srivastav and Gurmeher Marwa as speakers and Saubhagya Raizada as a discussant. We'll be starting with the presentations with both the speakers. So first, I would like to invite Gurmeher Marwa. She is a public sector professional with 5 years of experience in natural resource management, nature-based solutions, climate change policy, forestry, sustainable land management solutions, and circular economy. She has worked with Ernst & Young, UNEP, and WWF in the past and has completed her MS in conservation from UCL and her bachelor's from Hindu in botany and plant biology. She is passionate about environment and she likes developing solutions that support ecosystem conservation, restoration, and management, and build climate resilient in just an equitable manner. So I would like to invite Gurmeher. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your knowledge. Can you please help us understand what does nature-based solution mean to all of us?
Yes, thank you so much, Shubhi, for the introduction and for setting the context of the session today. So as Shubhi said, I will be talking more about basics of nature-based solutions. What is it, kind of a global and national context, and maybe one example. And then as the discussion progresses, I'm sure we can address further questions. I'll quickly share my screen so that I can get started. So yes, as Shubhi said, I like working on ecosystem conservation, specifically for climate change adaptation and mitigation. So I'll be talking about nature-based solutions for a resilient India. So I think let's just dive into it. What are nature-based solutions is I think the first question. I'm sure most of the people here already know, but I think a refresher is always welcome. I can't see. Just 1 second. Yes, sorry. So, and what are nature-based solutions? So nature-based solutions, the first question is solutions for what? Nature-based solutions address different societal challenges, different global challenges, whether it's climate change, disaster risk, food insecurity, gender inequality, human health, water insecurity. So those are the kind of social challenges that NBS seek to address, and their actions that protect or manage or restore natural or modified ecosystems that also provide, biodiversity benefits and benefit human well-being. So there are different kind of ecosystem-based approaches that help you address different global challenges. Um, I will show you more about the different approaches. So this is a nice infographic that I found, which I thought puts it across in a very concise and easily digestible manner, what the approaches are. And this diagram does not cover urban forestry or urban green infrastructure solutions, but that is also part of nature-based solutions. So if you see here, there's different ecosystems that nature-based solutions incorporates, whether it's mangroves, whether it's reefs, whether it's peatland restoration, whether it's sustainable forest management, afforestation, whether it's agroforestry, biochar. So, a lot of different approaches are covered under nature-based solutions. And there are different ways, whether you're actively restoring an ecosystem, whether you're sustainably managing an ecosystem, or whether you're protecting that ecosystem. For example, avoided deforestation, which is a conservation-based approach, where you're helping maintain that ecosystem. So there are different kind of approaches that come under nature-based solutions. And when you design a project for a nature-based solutions, they're designed based on the challenge you're trying to address. And the outcomes you're seeking to achieve from it. So again, this is just a very generic overview on the benefits of nature-based solutions. There are a lot more benefits than this, and even within these benefits outlined, there are specific sub-benefits that come into play, but this provides a bigger picture for the session right now and set the context. So as I said, nature-based solutions help build climate resilience. They help you build disaster risk resilience to natural and climate hazards. Especially for India, this is a very important context because India has large population dependent on agriculture or forest dependent livelihoods. So this is where, building resilience for vulnerable groups really comes into play. And that's why nature-based solutions is so important for our country. And also because India has such a large biodiversity and so many ecosystems that we can really leverage that to our benefit and to our country's benefit. So other benefits of NBS include water management. Nature-based solutions help improve water quality, increase water supply. They regulate water flow. Then also there are benefits such as participatory planning and governance, social justice and cohesion. That can be benefits. I mean, these benefits are the prerequisite would be to plan them into the project. And this is something you need to plan for to achieve it. But again, these are really important benefits, again, in the context of India, where equitable and a just transition is very important. And then there would be green jobs and new economic opportunities that are generated. And I'll tell you more about that in the next slide. So this is NBS in a global context. Just to put some numbers to the kind of benefits and the need for nature-based solutions, nature-based solutions can account for over 1/3 of the climate mitigation targets under Paris Agreement, which is a huge proportion, and they have such massive potential to help us with the most pressing challenges of today. I mean, $57 billion can be saved in flooding damages every year. $170 billion worth of additional benefits through a variety of ecosystem services. 1 billion hectares of degraded land can be restored if investments in nature-based solutions are doubled. If the investments in NBS are tripled, then it could generate 20 million jobs. And that's especially in South Asia, where we are. So these numbers really help you, put into perspective how much of a role NBS can play in helping us address our challenges, and especially now. I mean, the time to act is now, given our targets. And I'm building up to that because if you see, India has a lot of targets that it can achieve through nature-based solutions. So India has, a list of targets under its nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement and its land degradation neutrality targets. So one of the NDCs of India is to create an additional carbon sink through additional forest and green cover of 2.5 to 3 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent by 2030, which is just 6 years away. So this really shows you that, not just the potential, but the fact that you need to incorporate nature-based solutions in a big way now, to really achieve the targets that the country has set, and the role it can play in that setting. And again, like with India's net zero goal by 2070, nature-based solutions can play a key and have to play a key role in that aspect. Again, reducing emissions and intensity of its GDP by 45% is another goal of India's NDCs. And NBS can play a key role through natural resource management, through reducing resource use intensity of natural resources. That's a key thing that can help us with achieving the reduction in emissions intensity. Then India has also set an ambitious land degradation neutrality target of restoring 26 million hectares by 2030. Again, 6 years away. So I think it's high time that we get started in a very big way on nature-based solutions. And again, as Shabir was saying, it's something India has had for thousands of years, but I think as an umbrella concept, it really helps you put all your actions together and achieve them in a more targeted way. And leading up to that, again, like I'm saying in the slide, the focus on nature-based solutions is growing in India. Again, India has always been a nature-positive country. We have always had practices that involve nature, where nature worship, whether it's health through nature, or we understand the intrinsic value of nature in India and in Eastern countries. So not to talk about that at all, or not to like take away from that, but in the current scenario of the current terminologies of nature-based solutions, the focus on that as well is growing. And even the importance of traditional knowledge is coming into play more and more now, which is how it should be. So again, as I said, the NBS is really coming into play in the country, and it's implemented under different schemes and programs in India across different ministries. And the different schemes and programs include Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Scheme, Manrega, the Green India Mission, the National Afforestation Program, the Integrated Watershed Management Program, the Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, then several missions under the National Action Plan on Climate Change also have NBS approaches under them. So as you can see, there's a lot of focus, and there are also a lot of acts and policies in which these schemes and programs are rooted. So that, and you can see here, 60% of the activities under Manrega are related to national resource management. There are 12 national biodiversity targets under the National Biodiversity Action Plan. India is among the first 5 countries to join the Mangrove Alliance for Climate at the COP. In India's G20 presidency last year, NBS was a key area of focus. And even at the COP28, it is coming more and more into play, and their role, especially to address climate change, especially gaining focus with the whole subsection of NBS called National Climate Solutions, gaining a lot of traction globally. And also, lastly, India has recently decided to institute a voluntary market mechanism called the Green Credit Program, where it incentivizes voluntary environment actions, which include green cover through tea plantations, water conservation, regenerative agriculture practices, land restoration, restoration of mangroves, soil health, and a lot of other environmental actions outside of NBS as well. So as you can see, the focus has really grown on NBS, and I think this is a key time to really exponentially increase that, so that we can achieve our 2030 targets and leverage our position to be a leader globally for nature-based solutions. So with that kind of background, I just wanted to then quickly jump into a case study for nature-based solutions, so that I can really talk about the kind of activities that are implemented and the kind of impact that generated, and also some lessons that were learned. With that background, so I picked this case study on nature-based solutions, which focused on disaster risk reduction. So this wetland is based in Odisha. It's a 300-hectare freshwater wetland, and it was declared as a Ramsar site in 2022. And the wetlands basin supports urban and rural communities in the area, and of course biodiversity as well. The challenge was that within a span of 30 years, the area in that wetland, declined by twofold, like into half. So that really impacted, obviously, the livelihoods of people, the nature itself, and the ecosystem processes as well. So there, the issues were that land was diverted, then there was fragmentation of land, which also then led to salinization of the groundwater and soil. So a lot of issues that came up, and the overall objective of this NBS project was to enhance the resilience of 12,000 households, which would be roughly 60,000 people, to water-induced disaster risks. So the strategies they implemented in this project were, firstly, they understood the local risk concept. Now, this is a very important step before you jump into action into any NBS project, that you need to understand the local risk context and their need assessment and their ecosystem services shared value before you devise any measures, because measures should be devised specific to the local context, not something that you come in with and just implement blindly. So that was a key step that was taken: a landscape scale risk assessment and the ecosystem services shared value assessment, and then suitable eco DRR measures for resilience were devised. Then they supported conservation of wetland ecosystem services, which included restoring water regimes, the natural flow regime, strengthening sand dunes, and barren embankments through plantation. So this involved a mix of engineering and a mix of green infrastructure. So if you so you know that played a key role in the impacts that I'll talk about in the next step. And while they were doing this supporting the wetland restoration, they also focused a lot on building capacities of the key user groups. Because for an NBS project, for it to have long-term success and not just be, like, okay, you did something, maybe it was like it worked for 2-3 years, but then the user group didn't learn anything and they went back to the same thing. So the wetland is going to again go into losses and not work properly. So building capacities is a very important step in any NBS project. So as you can see here, they focused on capacitating them. They focused on community-based wetland management and giving the community a sense of ownership. That is very important in any NBS project, especially for it to have long-term success. Anyway, any NBS project is a long-term project, and that is also a reason why that financing for NBS has not been up to par. um, but again, to have that long-term success, you need to give a sense of community ownership, especially in India, because communities are so closely linked to our natural resources here. So that is a very key aspect. And they also focused on alternate ecosystem-based livelihoods, especially to regulate resource extraction, so that the wetland doesn't deplete once more. And as you can see, most of these actions were implemented through inclusion of these actions in the Gram Panchayat development plans and convergence with the Manrega and Odisha Livelihoods Mission, which really helped, smoothen the process out, because you're doing it with the government on board, which is very important in India, again, because government is a very big stakeholder here and they're part of any action you take. So it's always good to have them on board in any project you devise. So if you see, the implementing partners here was a local civil society organization who supported the assessments, community engagement, and implementation. And they also had the Chilika Development Authority who did the assessments and and they identified the actions that could be taken for conservation. And moving on to the impact. So if you can see there, the project has been, and I'm sure it's continuing, has proven a lot, gotten a lot of success. So with capacity building, 15 community based organizations have been trained. 800 members of women self-help groups were trained on sustainable livelihoods. 90 members of 2 primary fishermen cooperative societies were sensitized on sustainable fisheries. And that's such an important aspect, because sustainable fisheries is a key aspect of how marine ecosystems work as well. whether it's river, wetland, or seas and oceans, and it's gaining more and more importance worldwide, especially with the blue economy coming into play. And then area restored. I mean, nearly 450 hectares of wetlands and community common pool resources are protected and restored, which is even more than the 300 hectares of the wetland itself, which is a great success. And even local fisher communities have started adopting sustainable practices, which is a great sign that these practices are going to continue because they have been internalized by the local communities. And again, if you see advocacy with government, they have gotten designation under Ramsar. They've integrated these measures in the Gram Panchayat development plans, which means it's institutionalized, which is the goal, that it becomes the norm, that it becomes mainstreamed. And lastly, I want to talk about the lessons learned from this project, but lessons that apply overall to a lot of different approaches of NBS and across the country. So the first would be understanding the local concept. As I said, this is a very important factor, especially in India, which is so culturally diverse in all manners. So you really need to understand the local context of like socioeconomically, historically, culturally, their language barriers, level of knowledge, their attitudes, tenure of that land parcel itself. So understanding that is really important to understand and ensure community engagement and to have everybody on board before you start. Because you can't implement these solutions in isolation. Then the second would be adoption of hybrid solutions are most appropriate for resilience building. So as I said, NBS is a green infrastructure solution. At least for this project, it seemed like the adoption of a mixed approach was the most suitable. And the biggest takeaway from this is you need to adapt your project or your solution based on what the land itself requires, the land and the people. And again, identifying community-based volunteers to champion eco-DIR has been really effective and successful because again, it's about transferring ownership. You make the other person feel like they own this and they need to do this for themselves. That's the only way it's going to sustain in the future, while when the implementing partners move out of the area. So that's very important. Then partnerships, again, you can't do anything without strategic partnerships, whether it's with government, whether it's the private sector, whether it's with NGOs, whether it's with research institutions. You need to build partnerships to scale up NBS and to even implement. You can't do it by yourself. And yeah, you need to have all stakeholders on board. And, even with that, people are getting more and more interested. NBS, the awareness about NBS is just growing. So I think this is the perfect time to get partners on board, even with financing, co-financing and collaboration. And developing a shared vision document is all about that. You get members on board to collaborate on planning itself, so that you can plan measures that benefit the local communities and are aligned with what the local communities want for themselves. So yeah, partnerships are very important. And lastly, review of existing sectoral plans that guide development actions is very important, because before you jump into implementing something, you need to know what is being planned for that specific land parcel. What are the mission schemes that you can tap into for your project itself? How can you smoothen it out? These are very important things for the project itself and for scaling up in the future. It's always good to mainstream and to embed your project within actions of the government and have them on board as a key stakeholder, especially because they play such a big role in India. So yeah, I think these are very important lessons from this case study itself that apply to a lot of different NBS approaches. And as I said, I think this is the key time for India to really exponentially increase their investment and focus on nature-based solutions to really take it to the next level. And I think I will stop here so that we can continue the discussion and also have some time for questions. So thank you so much. I hope I contributed to the discussion and there was something new that I could add to this conversation today. And I look forward to the discussion later on with the questions. Thank you.
Right.
Sharing my screen.
Yeah, I think I can't agree more, Gurmeher. Our planet in the country is facing the dual crisis, water security and climate change. New
Definitely.
Delhi's 52 degrees Celsius temperatures and Bangalore's water crisis are the latest example. And
And everybody says the next World War is going to be on water.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
uh,
totally. So thank you so much for sharing how nature can be a powerful ally and how nature-based solutions can offer a range of environment-friendly approaches that address these challenges simultaneously. And what better day to discuss it on the World Environment Day, where land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience is the topic. With that,
definitely.
now I'm going to invite our next speaker, Mr. Ankit Srivastav. Um, just sharing a little bit of details about Ankit. He's quite a popular person in the sector. Ankit did his master's in environment science and engineering from IIT Mumbai. In the last 11 years, he has worked with Maharashtra Pollution Control Board, Delhi Jal Board, Environment Department as a technical expert. He is also the youngest expert member in the State Expert Appraisal Committee of Delhi, which grants environmental clearances within Delhi area. He has also served as an expert member in the technical committee of Air Quality Commission. Currently, he established his firm called Biosphere Environment Engineering Solutions, and we are looking forward to more amazing work that he does. Ankit, I'm going to invite you to share help us understand more from your experiences of, implementing multiple projects from the nature-based solutions perspective. Floor is all yours, Ankit. Looking forward to hear more.
Hello everyone. I'm Ankit. I am popular for wrong reasons. So yes, I have worked with government in last 11 years. We have implemented nature-based solutions. Uh, we also call it biomimicry-based solutions because all the solutions have their origin from some parallel technicality in biomimicry zone. Uh, I'll share some of the case studies when we started working on this project around 2016-17. There were not many examples. So we implemented whatever we got to know from the books or the research papers. There's a very uh, good book on NbS. It is called RC Wala and Asolekar. It covers many nature-based solutions, how to design it, what calculations should be done. So that is the first thing. Nature-based solution is actually a science. So it needs to be handled in a scientific way. And it follows certain set of scientific principles. And if you move further back, it has certain calculations, mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology behind it. So the first thing that we try to figure out is how to take it scientifically, because when you are scaling it up within the government, it has to follow the government norms. It has to be in the language in which government understands. So that was the first, I would say, most important parameter and most important constraint, because the language which most of the NBS practitioners speak and the language which government understand, they are completely different. So it needs to be brought on the same language. Secondly, uh,
Sorry, Ankit, do
uh,
you want to share your slides? They are
yes,
not
I'm
visible.
trying to do that. Just give
Do you
me
want me to share?
just 1 second. So the initiative where we try to implement this NBS, so though the solution is one, but we are trying to include all the possible domains of nature-based solution, which comprises of water pollution, air pollution, social community, groundwater recharge, and air pollution. And there were many other effects that were part of it. Just give me a second. First project that we implemented of nature-based solution, so this was somewhere around 2016, when there were no case study of how to go ahead with a water body rejuvenation project. In the beginning, we identified what are the problems. There were 6, 7 key problems that you could see in the photograph. Uh, Firstly, it was a water body thoroughly contaminated with sewage, sludge, local solid waste. It was right in the middle of a village, which was around 70, 80 years old. Then you had all the urban problems as well as rural problems. There were cattle, there were encroachment, there were uh, all kind of waste used to be done there. And then there was a ownership. A local community was doing some religious Chhat Puja every year. So these were the problems, and out of 1100 water bodies, this was the model water body which had all the problems. So this automatically became a model water body rejuvenation project because we solved almost all the problems which are there at the site. We removed encroachment. We created a small STP, nature-based STP. We customized and designed specifically for this site. And we gave it a name called Swap. The difference between the reason why we had to specifically design for this site and not take up from any existing technology, because we had a very smaller patch of land. And this is a common problem in all the urban cities. Land is expensive. It is not available for nature-based solutions because nature-based solutions by default need a lot of land. Um, just to give a perspective to this, for every 1000 liters of treatment, for nature-based solution, you would need somewhere around 10 square meters of land. So for every 1 KL, you need 10 square meters of land. While in all the electromechanical latest technology, you would need 0.5 square meters of land. So there is a difference of 20 times. So if you want to implement the nature-based solution, you need to have sufficient land. And if you don't have land, then you have to go for the hybridization, or you have to innovate in that technology part. So we developed a technology customized to this. Then we created a amphitheater kind of space, which you can see. This was actually a dumping ground. You can see cattle sitting over there. This place act as amphitheater for barring 2 months, 10 months, it is amphitheater. For that Chhat Puja time, this gets converted to Chhat Puja. Before we took up this project, there were only 20-30 people coming for Chhat Puja. After that, we have over 2,000 people coming here for Chhat Puja, only for this thing. And this is right in the center of Rajokri village. There were many other benefits that we got, which we didn't envisage. People automatically start owning up. The community which were staying around that water body, they started owning that water body. We started receiving phone call whenever anything wrong goes in at that site. And that is the best part. When communities start owning up a place, they automatically start questioning the government officials, government machinery, and automatically it becomes priority. All the water body, lakes, drains, canals. The problem with all these structures is that it has become backyard of the city. It has to be brought again at the forefront of the city. This is the second. Shubhi, can you go back to the previous slide? Previous slide. So this Rajokri water body rejuvenation later on got recognized by central government as well as NGT, and it became a template. NGT has specified in its order saying that this should be the template which should be followed for all the water body rejuvenation, all the 600 water body rejuvenation of Delhi. So this is model number 1, where we try to include water body based, nature based solution. And the best part is the treatment cost per kiloliter is less than 1 rupee. If you compare it with the biggest plant where economy of scale is there you have 10 to 12 rupees per kiloliter of treatment. Here we are getting less than 1 rupee. Quality of water is as at par with the NGT standards, and the recurring cost is negligible. It's almost nil. So this was the first template, nature-based solution that we developed in Delhi. The other model, can you go to the next slide? This is the rejuvenation of Sanat Lake. It has a very interesting history. This water body was a compensatory water body. A government department had covered one water body somewhere in central Delhi. So as part of compensation, they have developed this water body in northwest Delhi. The area is called Bhavana. It's right in the center of a Bhavana industrial area. And because in the industrial area, you don't have vote bank, so it was a neglected state for last 25 years. So we took it up. So the first task was to arrange the water. So again, we developed a natural wetland adjacent to the drain. In the rightmost slide, you can see a drain flowing next to the lake. So we have developed a constructed wetland of 1 MLD capacity, and it is completely power free. By power free, I mean there is no electricity connection in that wetland. It is completely designed on gravity. The water from drain based on levels enter the wetland and it gets treated. The BOD and TSS level we are getting in the range of 6 to 7. And again, on the gravity, it flows into the lake. So we deepened this lake, we removed all the waste, and the water levels are now have gone up by 4 feet in last 1.5 years. So the last photograph that you can see after, it's a 5-acre lake which we have rejuvenated. The water levels are going up, and in order to maintain the oxygen, we have also installed a floating aerator. There is a policy loophole whenever we try to use the treated water, it doesn't talk about the dissolved oxygen. The parameters specify 6-7 parameters: BOD, COD, TSS, TDS, but it doesn't specify oxygen. So without oxygen, water is dead. That's why normally call Yamuna and Ganga is dead, because they don't have dissolved oxygen. So anything less than 2 milligram per liter of oxygen, any water body, it is not aerobic and it is not live. So that is a policy loophole which we are working on. We have pitched at many places. This was the Sanat Lake. This has become template and circulated by CPHO to all the chief secretaries of India to replicate this model. It falls under the category of drain rejuvenation connected to water body and lake rejuvenation. Can we go to the next slide? And the best part is the water level has gone up by 4 feet for Sanat. This is a classic case of state of water body in urban areas. You can see the left side photograph. It was an urban dumping ground. It is right in the center of Buradi, which is a northwest area. It is situated on the floodplain, unauthorized colony. It was around 4 meters of what you call a dhalao, the solid waste dumping ground. So you can see the left side, जहाँ पे JCB आप देखेंगे on this side. We kept on digging and digging, and we kept on finding the plastic and dump solid waste going back to 30 years. So we had to ultimately take a call, and we stopped digging after 6 meters. And then we had placed a one small phytoremediation nature-based STP, which is treating the local water coming in the drain, and it is then feeding the STP. These ducts automatically came after filling up the water body, and this is a common thing that we have noticed across all our sites. Whenever we rejuvenate the water body, the local temperature automatically goes. There's a temperature difference of 5 degrees Celsius. Technically, it is called heat island effect. It is the water body is fighting heat island effect. Birds and native plants automatically start thriving in that area. When you increase the DO, it also takes care of the groundwater recharge, and it start diluting the contaminant which are artificially put due to man-made activity. So this is a small water body. It is around 2 acre in size, and it has got excellent reviews. Now we have, when we were in the government, most of the public representatives, MLA and councillors, they have started giving officially letters to rejuvenate water body in their area because their people have started demanding. They used to call it झील वाली कॉलोनी. जो आसपास आप घर देख रहे हैं, the people automatically start owning up. Guests used to visit only to see this site. Can you go to the next slide? So this is India's biggest natural wetland, which is being developed at Timarpur. So there is a combination. So it is एक सबसे commonly पूछे जाने वाली चीज है कि कैसे गवर्नमेंट को प्रमोट करें, how to promote, how to incentivize. You need to plug problem and solution together, and it should be aesthetic, it should be good looking, it should be served in a way that people accept it, people connect with it. So Timarpur Lake is India's biggest and cheapest project of natural treatment. The 5 fingers that you can see at the distant end, they are 5 wetlands. They are supposed to be, they are being converted to 5 wetlands. Each wetland has capacity of 1 mgd, that means 4.5 mld. So the total capacity of these 5 wetlands are 25 mld. And the second set of fingers that you can see, it is a lake. Timarpur used to be an oxidation pond, which is again a natural system developed during British period. It was then dumped by Delhi government. Now we have converted into again natural water treatment zone, and the landscaping part is converted to lake. There are many provisions. People have already started coming in. It has got a lot of attention. The project cost is around 64 crores, but it is the cheapest project in terms of per kilometer treatment. And the overflow of this will go into another lake that is proposed on the rightmost side of it. Uh, you must visit this site. Everyone who is listening to this, you must visit this site. This has grown into a very beautiful site. Can we go to the next slide? Uh, So this is the Iradat Nagar Lake again in northwest Delhi. So Delhi being urban city has a lot of water demand per capita. So this site is being developed as step wells. Bauli जिन्हें हम कहते हैं. So most of the Baulis are old design. We were developing it as a recent latest Bauli, where you can see there are step wells around it, and then we have developed multiple 5 lakes to capture the canal water. So Delhi gets all the most of the water from Yamuna through Haryana channel canal. So that canal in certain season carry excess water. So that water will go into the lake and it will recharge the ground, which can later be harvested during summer season. So that was the idea behind it. The all the water body and lakes which I am showing was originally meant to have further polishing unit based on natural system called floating wetlands and aeration. So floating wetlands are natural set of plants which can endure high water levels and can treat the water, can take up the pollutants. This is another site. We have 3 lakes of 3.5 acres each. So total comes around 10 acres, 10.5 acres. So there are 3 lakes inside Niloti STP. The site is already commissioned. We are also going to have floating aerators and wetland system so that it can take care of the system. And in all the sites, at this specific site, we have increase of 8 meters in groundwater levels before and after commissioning of site. 8 meters means almost 3 floors of groundwater levels we have increased after commissioning of the site. And this has happened across all the water body and all the lakes. The second thing, this is also acting as buffer to the sewage treatment plant. There are situations, there are conditions when your STP doesn't work well, and the output of STP is connected to these lakes. So whenever anything goes wrong in the STP, we can catch it very easily by change in color or some kind of manifestation in the lake water quality. So this also gives you sufficient time to treat the water if anything goes wrong in the STP, and it protects the river. Next slide, please.
Ankit, I am loving this discussion. I've been looking forward. I would just request you to conclude in next 1 minute. Can we do that,
Yes,
please?
yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes. So this is Rohini side. This is exactly similar to the previous slide, but here we are polishing STP water to almost drinking water quality. The 6 lakes that you can see on the left side, these are polishing pond based on natural treatment system. This will polish the water to treatment to drinking water. And on the right side, you can see 2 lakes. So these 2 lakes are recharge lakes. One is 7 acre, one is 10 acre. Both are constructed, both are filled with water. Uh, and it is supposed to have tube well around it. The water level in this area has gone up to 2 meters below ground level. That means if you just dig it with normal equipment, you will find water in the ground. Next slide. So this is the most ideal site. This we commissioned almost 2 years back. When we started this project, the groundwater was 20 meters below ground in Dwarka. Now it is around 6 to 7 meters. So 13 meters water level has gone up around this water body, around this lake. The bigger lake is 7 acre, then the smaller lake is 4 acre. The small bubbles that you can see, it's a drone view. The small bubbles that you can see in the lake is aeration system. We have also put some floating wetland. You can also see from the air plane. So whenever any plane take off from the airport, you can see those wetlands as well as the lake. Next slide. So this is a continuation of the earlier Sanot Lake. This is the 1 MLD wetland that we have made on Goga drain. It is powerless, zero power, zero electricity STP, and we also did one pilot, which you can see in the leftmost quadrant floating wetland and drain, in situ drain treatment that a pilot project, we got 48% removal in our first pilot, 48% pollutant reduction. Next slide. And this is the last project. नेचर बेस्ड सॉल्यूशन हर बार इंजीनियरिंग वाला हो ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है. ये एक ऐसा प्रोजेक्ट था जो दिल्ली के लिए हमने एनविसाज किया था. ये प्रोजेक्ट सबसे जरूरी है इन टर्म्स ऑफ स्टडिंग द हाइड्रोजियोलॉजी. जैसे ही फ्लड आती है, ये जो लेफ्ट साइड में पॉन्ड है, सो वी हैव कंस्ट्रक्टेड 26 acre pond. So whenever we have higher flood level, water automatically goes into this pond. It recharges into the ground because it has sand, and the whole water shifts towards the city. So this we were planning to do on 1,000 acres, but because of certain restriction by NGT, we did a pilot for 5 years on 26 acres, and the results were amazing. And this is the only way you can provide any city with sustainable water supply. The TDS of this water is around 50. So there is no RO, nothing required. The project has been successful, and it is one of the best Yamuna floodplain nature-based solutions that we have done so far. So if anyone has any query, that's it from my side.
Thank you so much, Ankit. I think I've had a pleasure of knowing you for a couple of years, and I've always loved the work and more than that, the intention and zeal that you come with. So always a fan of your work, and thank you for putting up examples for the country to witness that, how it can be done. I know saying like presenting it in 10 slides is not easy. It takes a lot of work.
We had 35 locations. I have presented only 10.
I'm sure it must have been a difficult task to pick a few. But I think I will also budget on the time here and move to introducing our discussant for the day, Saubhagya Raizada. We are lucky to have you, Saubhagya. Saubhagya is an independent policy researcher with 6+ years of experience in livelihoods, technology, and climate. He has worked at McKinsey and Company to design national policies in MENA and strengthen technology update in India's public health systems. He has helped build a network of IT-enabled enterprise delivery system hubs, which create thousands of jobs in villages of UP and MP. Saubhagya is an MPP graduate from the University of Oxford and a global shaper with the World Economic Forum, where he leads the project Greener Gurugram to be specific, to accelerate the urban restoration and NBS projects in the city and mainstream evidence for the global climate adaptation efforts. Saubhagya would be helping us just chisel out some insights from all the sharings which have been done by Gurmeher and Ankit. Saubhagya, please lead the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shubhi. It is a pleasure to be here and an honor to be among such experts who've really pulled off NBS and extremely inspiring work. I think my two big key takeaways from both the speakers was if you were to break down and understand NBS from a very 101 perspective, the solution bit needs a problem to solve. And I think understanding the problems, both in the case study Gurmeher talked about and the studies that were done in water bodies across Delhi, identifying the challenge, both social and environmental, and then biomimicry and getting inspired by nature to develop those solutions is what NBS is all about. And the other big element that was consistent in both the talks were about community ownership and how if both public and private players really come together to transform and implement NBS projects, people start demanding NBS. And I think that's something that's latent in the policy space in India, where climate is increasingly becoming salient. And it's great to see how NBS projects can, intensify that salience. I would, in the interest of time, just ask one question each to both Gurmeher and Ankit, and then open up to questions if there are any from the guests attending. Ankit, to you first, and it links to a question that Vivek has also asked. when we are looking at implementing NBS projects, especially with the government, what are the kind of success metrics we look at? Because when it comes to financing such projects, it's a big opportunity cost, a big cost benefit analysis to be done, decisions to be taken by the government. What are the metrics that a typical government or a large funder looks at? And if you could elaborate how, whether there's a financial ROI that's looked at, or there are other elements that go into evaluating how much to finance, how to finance, etc.
See, NBS, there is an issue with the NBS solution. Thing is, you need to take into account the economics, the unit economics of every component involved in it. So if you want to push NBS solutions in the government, you need to do the life cycle cost assessment of the project. And second, you have to bring in the externalities of that project, all the positive externalities. For example, if we are creating a lake for groundwater recharge, along with source from treated water, promoting recycle and reuse, there is we are using a much bigger land, which government otherwise would have used for some other purpose. But when you do that, when you create a lake, there is a certain degree of temperature drop, there is a certain degree of absorption, there is a certain degree of algae, hence biochar produced in it, and there is a certain escalation in the property rates around it, which actually increases the revenue of the government. This is something which we realized later on. But in my case, in the last 10 years, I have managed to convince the government, hire people in the government, just by explaining the life cycle cost of it. How much we are putting it per kiloliter, per kg of carbon sequestration, per kg of pollutant load. They just need to be shown the other side of it. And secondly, you are against a lobby which is very vehemently pushing electromechanical solutions, because there's a very high margin to it and high profitability attached to it. So if you have to counter that market, you need to be very confident with your numbers. You have to be thorough with your study. What you are proposing, why you are proposing, who will be benefiting, and what is the per kg benefit of that.
Great. That's actually very insightful to know both about the process and the lobby. Gurmehar, if we, pull back a bit on from implementation and evaluation of projects to the launch of the Green Credits program in India, and pilots such as ones you've been involved with, green budget tagging in the state of Uttar Pradesh. What are the big opportunities you see in how state governments see NBS, particularly in urban areas where some of these problems are exacerbated, and how they're looking forward to financing it?
Right. So, as you know, government has recently done the Green Credits program, and UP and Assam both have done green budgeting, and other states have also done climate budgeting in the past. So that those are all green finance solutions, and finance is the biggest problem for nature-based solutions, because firstly, they need a proof of concept, which is difficult to achieve, and to get that funding for the proof of concept is very difficult. That's the biggest challenge. Then second is NBS are very long-term projects. Most projects for social welfare that funders invest in are much shorter. You can see the impact very quickly, and you can define the impact. Okay, that like 10,000 people we're going to educate on this, or like with ecosystems, you can say that okay, yeah, but it's less tangible. So that's the biggest other problem with getting financing on board. So with nature-based solutions, that is the biggest problem, and I have also been working on climate finance to kind of get that on board, and that is what green budget tagging is also doing, putting numbers also to like how much the government is funding what intervention specifically, so they can reevaluate whether they need to improve metrics to the contribution towards green activities, especially in urban areas. Like you're saying, your question, I think there are several interventions regarding nature-based solutions in urban areas. that have also gained traction, especially in Delhi. I mean, you can see the vertical green gardens across the city now in Delhi. And there's, green roofs, there's urban forestry, there's urban farming. Even in Chennai, there's an urban farming project that's been going on. So there are a lot of interventions for urban areas, and they're very important because cities get very hot. Even between Delhi and Gurgaon, for example, you can see the temperature difference because Delhi, certain areas has a lot of greenery. And you can see the temperature change when you come to Gurgaon because Gurgaon is more exposed in a sense in terms of greenery, at least a lot of areas. So that comes into play a lot, and I think the government is realizing that more and more, that even with like there was one solution about painting roads white and all because it reduces temperatures. So I mean, that's an engineering solution, but I think the awareness on cities and urban green solutions is increasing, but I don't think it's at that level right now. Like I said, nature-based solutions, and like Ankit is also saying, the main focus even then is on rural areas or like um areas with bigger chunks of land, because they're the primary, like they're a majority of the nature-based solutions, so people end up focusing more on that. And on getting financing, I think like I said, there is a problem of proof of concept and on showing long-term investment, especially from outside funders. But I think blended finance is a great solution that is coming into play now, more and more now, not just for state governments, but for the central government as well, because the public sector has been financing the majority of nature-based solutions. It accounts for the majority of funding for even climate solutions in the country. But there is still a gap to plug, and the government is already doing a lot. So the private sector needs to come on board, and for that you need to reduce the risk for their investments. So I think that is a key sector. And also, I mean, there is already a lot of funding that goes in. I think redefining metrics is also very important to measure the success going in and to consolidate, because a lot of different policies and a lot of different programs, but you need to kind of consolidate and get less in silos so people can operate together. Those are very quick anyway pointers, but yeah, those are my overall points on the question. Sorry if I went on too
Perfect.
long.
No, excellent set of insights. Thank you so much, Gurmeher and Ankit. I would hand it back to Shubhi. Almost.
Thank you so much, Saubhagya, for keeping it brief. I know you had more questions for the both exciting speakers that we have today. I think I just want to do a quick one-word check-in with everybody. With Ankit, Saubhagya, and Gurmeher, if there was one thing that we can facilitate as a country to improve or just widen the spectrum for NBS applications in India, what would that be? We can start with the A. Ankit.
Either way.
I think we need to have more proof of concepts. We know a lot about NBS theoretically, but we need to have sites where we can take people, show them, teach them, handhold them, and then give them confidence. Because most of the people where we are pushing these are government officers. They need to see it first before they can implement it. So we need to funnel CSR money into proof of concept, which I have been personally doing. Uh, we have done many sites. Once we have shown the site, then it becomes very easy to replicate. When they see themselves that the water quality is good, when they themselves see that, you get a very good feeling around lake, water body. When you can see the birds laying eggs, when you can see a nest inside floating rafter inside the water body, then automatically it has ripple effect on that. So you need to have a proof of multiple sites having proof of concept.
Thank you, Ankit. I get that. Gurmeher, do you want to go
I
next?
think for me, evaluation of ecosystem services is the most important for NBS specifically because, like you said, there are a lot of benefits, but you realize them later. But numbers, everybody understands. Especially when you're pitching a project or getting money in, you need to show them that it's actually you're gaining more than
Right.
Yeah.
you think.
Right.
And I think that's again increasing. Ecosystem valuation is increasing, so I think that's a good sign.
Saubhagya, what do you think?
I think something that we are also trying to do is increase civic participation and demand from both public authorities and private civil society organizations to start piloting and doing these proof of concepts and mainstreaming these conversations. And I think today is a great start.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you
Definitely.
so much. I know we have exceeded by 5 minutes, but I was so thrilled to hear all the young speakers that we have, and it's also the future that we co-create together. So understanding that the future of NBS is quite broad, and there are some excellent examples like the Green Great Wall of Africa, the China's Sponge City, wetland restoration at Florida, Oyster Reef, and so many beautiful examples that Ankit walked us through, and we as Gurujal have also been experimenting on the ground. Thank you so much for all the amazing listeners. I know we might have questions. Please feel free to post them. Eventually, we'll try and get in touch with the speakers and request them for more answers. Thank you so much, everyone. We will look forward to connecting with you later. But I would also invite you to listen to our next conversation on Monday, which is Musings with the Women for Water and Acknowledge and Appreciate Their Endeavors. And that is amazing. Thank you so much. We'll be signing off and connecting again next Wednesday of July, first Wednesday of July on Nature-Based series. Thank you so much. Have a great evening and a very happy World Environment Day.